Okay, so this is the after show. I call it last call because last call at a bar is when you've had a few to drink and it's time to wrap it up, but you're sharing your life story with the person at the bar next to you you've never met and now you're like best friends. But it's also based on the show Inside the Actor Studio. Did you ever see that show?
Yes.
You're an artist, right? So
Yes,
what did you study in art school?
Photography.
Photography. Okay.
Yes. And fine art photography. Like that's like, yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Well, so I don't know if you remember this show specifically, but in Inside the Actors Studio at the end, James Lipton would ask like 10 questions and he would ask all his guests the same questions. So I've taken inspiration from that and ask pet related questions.
Okay.
So my first one is, what is your favorite breed of dog?
I'll cover Rizzo's ears. Nova Scotia Duck-Tolling Retrievers.
Really? What makes them so special?
I've had them since 1999. And I came to them because we had a border collie and my husband had a Labrador, and we were looking for a sporty dog for me to do some showing with and things like that. And they are a mix between herding dog and retrievers. That's how the breed was developed. And and they're a good size. They're not the dog for everybody. So our joke is half the size of a golden, double the energy. They're really sensitive. Most people think of like Goldens or Labs as pretty easygoing dogs. Tollers definitely have that herding dog side of them, and they are much more sensitive creatures. When people are interested in the breed, if they say, "Oh, I've always had golden retrievers," I'm like, "No,
not the same thing."
Yeah, but if they're like, "Oh, I had a border collie or I had an Aussie," and I'm interested in the breed, I'm like, come on, you can come and talk to us then.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And I've had them since long before they were AKC recognized. So they're really popular right now, which is slightly terrifying for those of us who've been in the breed for a long time.
Right. Yes. We don't want them to become popular. People have no business having them. We'll eventually have them. And then it's a problem.
On the other hand, my American Water Spaniel is a super rare breed, even though they've been recognized for a long time. And if you are looking for a family dog, she is bomb proof, and every single one of them I've ever met are bomb proof. They're high drive and they like to do stuff, but nothing phases her.
Oh, so cool. That's good to know. Yeah, that's really good to know. So do you have a least favorite breed? And I asked this only to normalize that it just might not be a breed that you would want to have.
German Shepherds. Sorry, all of you German Shepherd people. There are a lot of you out there. Sorry. They're big. They're highly in tune to their environment. They have a lot of health issues. They're powerful. People think back to their childhood in the 80s and 70s when German Shepherds were a different creature, I believe. And the other thing is like 70 and 80-year-old people who have always had Shepherds their whole life, and now they get a Shepherd puppy. And it's like, no, just don't. I don't care that you've always had a Shepherd. I don't care that every Shepherd you've had has been perfect. Just no.
I don't know how many people who are in their 70s and 80s watch this show, but please don't get a puppy at that age. Any puppy. You don't have any business having a puppy at that age. Who wants to do that at 80 years old? I don't want to do it at 40.
Right.
All right. Do your pets sleep in your bed?
Rizzo, with her cognitive dysfunction, has started sleeping up in our bedroom, and it's really cute because she stays on her dog bed until we turn the TV and the lights off, and then she jumps up like she's like sneaking onto the bed. But she does it every night. Like I make room for her, and Lindy sleeps downstairs.
Oh, by choice? Does she have like a place that she likes to?
She
sleep
either
in?
her crate or in like she has this whole room to herself. So there's a bunch of beds and her crate. But usually in the morning I come in and she's actually asleep in her crate with the door open.
Very nice. Yeah. So that's her place, her safe space.
Yep.
Who or what wakes you up in the morning?
It used to be the kid. Thankfully, at 16, he's finally starting to sleep in.
You're telling me I have to wait 12 more years.
Yeah, he's always been an early riser. I'm a bit of an early riser too. So, but I would say lately it's the alarm clock, unfortunately.
Oh, what's interesting about this question is not that many. I thought it was going to be the pets, right?
Yeah.
And then if not the pets, then the alarm clock.
Right.
It's not often the pets. It's more often kids or spouse. And it's not that often the alarm clock because everybody else comes in. So now that your kid lets you sleep and your dogs let you sleep, now the alarm clock does its job.
Yeah. So Rizzo used to wake us up, but once we moved her up to our bedroom with her, as her cognitive stuff started to kick in more, we finally can sleep in.
That's good to hear. I love that. What is your most used training command or cue at home with both of them? I know that they're very different in like different ages.
Yeah.
What would you say you use most with both of them?
It's a cue. It's not a command. That's our favorite thing to say.
Right.
Gosh, I mean, probably here, which is my recall word. And so if they're out, I have a view that if, you're barking in the yard, that means you must want to come in. And so that, or, there's a squirrel outside or whatever, I think that's probably what I use the most.
I like that. Here's good.
Yeah.
Here's good. What is the one that you use the least? Either you don't like it because people use it and you won't use it, or something that you're maybe practicing or incorporating more now?
I don't like when people ask my dogs to sit. And so, first of all, strangers shouldn't ask dogs to sit because you don't have a relationship with that pet. And so stop asking for my dog to sit. Stop asking my dog to sit before giving it a treat. Stop asking my dog to sit before coming in the door. I don't give a sit about your sit. So we live in a society that does have to do something to earn a treat or anything. And so Lindy, I mean, she's 4 and maybe she knows sit on cue. I mean, she knows how to sit, but
right.
I don't really ask her to do it. And she has some neurologic issues. So sitting frequently isn't really easy for her. And then Rizzo, interestingly, even though she also has some rear end neurologic issues, she tends to sit more as she's aged than she used to stand all the time. So right. Sit is probably my biggest bugaboo. Everybody sit.
I've heard that. That's actually with the highly experienced positive reinforcement trainers, that's a popular one. No is another one that they won't use. But sit is funny that you should say that because it's people just say, I don't have a use for that. It doesn't do anything.
Basically, people use it as a way to stop behavior, which is good. Like if you're like, oh, your dog is jumping, teach him to sit instead. Like this. But it doesn't have to be a sit. It just means 4 feet on the ground. It's about stationary. It's about calmness. That's what people are looking for with the sit. It doesn't have to be a sit.
And thinking long term, it could get to a point where it's not comfortable for them to sit anymore. Yeah. And I see that with my dogs. I don't ask them to sit ever because they're old.
Yeah. And that's with Lindy. I don't ask her because she definitely has good days and bad days with her neurologic issues. And I see that all the time where or the dogs are trying to sit and it's like, it's like slow-mo sit. And you're just like, oh God, I feel
And then you have the people who do this in front of their face so that they can sit. So now I'm telling you to sit. I'm waving my hand in front of your face. It hurts to sit. You're old and arthritic. It's such a terrible situation. So I totally hear that. What pet related noise do you love?
Not the sound of vomiting. That's always the one that gets you off the first thing in the
That's the next one.
Let's see. Sound related. I don't even know what could. Both of my dogs are very talkative, but not barky.
I love that.
And so they have, we joke that Rizzo sounds like a Formula One car. She goes, so, and I definitely encourage it. So I guess any of their talkative, sassy, and sassy is a bad term for it, but yes.
No, she's an opinionated lady. She's allowed to be.
Yep.
I love that. What pet related noise do you hate? I think you already gave me the answer.
Or that's the slurping of them licking themselves. Rizzo has a lot of allergy issues. And so she'll just lick herself sometimes on her stomach, or her feet and stuff. And just oh, stop, please.
I know. Yes. My husband actually gets so crazy with our little radar. He just licks himself randomly. And I've, at some point you kind of sometimes learn to tune it out. My husband cannot. He just cannot. It's like nails on a chalkboard for him. And I'm like, there's nothing we can do.
Well, sometimes there is. So that's usually licking is indication of GI issues and or allergy issues. And Rizzo has both. So that is where her licking comes from.
We are quite sure that Radar has allergy issues. We've just never explored it.
Yep.
Because that's it's never been such a big deal, but I'm sure that we should be exploring it because
that is why Rizzo gets weekly baths.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is it
It makes a huge
environmental
difference.
allergies?
Yeah. Yeah. Dust
Wow.
mites, just dust mites.
Oh, and in this house, there are many of those,
That's,
unfortunately. So
yeah. We won't even get into that.
I have 3 dogs and 2 young children and a
Yeah.
husband he wears the biggest boots you've ever seen because he's military every single day. So it's impossible to keep this house
Yeah.
clean. Okay. So you are a dog trainer. You're certified in a million things. What pet related profession other than dog training and all that you've accomplished would you think would be fun to try one day?
So when I was in 7th grade, I wanted to be um, a non-human primatologist. I wanted to go study the mountain gorillas in Rwanda, and that is still what I would like to do.
So you're
And that's
like, you dream of being Jane Goodall kind of thing?
Diane Fossey is our gorilla lady.
Okay.
Yes, and she's one of the 3 what they call trimates. She was gorillas, and then there was a person that did orangutans, and then Jane Goodall with chimpanzees.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, so I hope you get to at least experience that once in your life.
At
That
least
would be
want to
really
go
cool.
see them at some point in time.
Yes, that would be awesome. Okay, what pet related profession would you never want to try?
Daycare attendant.
Oh, good one. Very good one. Especially as a dog trainer, knowing all you know, that would be so triggering, I think.
So bad. And all you do is really pick up poop and break up
And the
fights
smell. Yeah.
and the smell.
And the
Yeah, no,
smell
thank
and
you.
the energy. Cause like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm affected by the energy of those around me, whether they be furry or feel,
right.
or human or whatever. And I feel like I would just be like, ah, all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. And this is where we
Yeah.
really get introspective. If the Rainbow Bridge exists, who is the first pet to greet you when you arrive?
I want either, I'm torn. It's either Gus, my schnoodle growing up, because yes, schnoodles have existed for a very long time. I got one when I was 9 and I'm 45. So either Gus, because he was really, if we could clone a dog to be a perfect family dog, Gus would be that dog. Or Dara, one of my Nova Scotia duck towing retrievers, who was my first positive reinforcement dog. She was the first toller in the country to earn rally titles. We did retriever field training, all positive reinforcement. She lived to 14 years. She was amazing, great temperament, but also didn't really, when we talk about consent, didn't really like you to pet her. She's like, do you have food? Do you have a tennis ball? If you do not have either of those, I really don't, or a duck. I don't really have use for them.
Duck. So they really do.
Mhm.
They bring you the duck. Are they like soft mouthed,
Yep.
like
Yep.
retrievers are in that sense?
Yeah, and so they're the Nova Scotia duck tolling. Tolling is an old English word meaning to lure. And they were bred to resemble foxes hunting along the shoreline. So foxes will play and do all this funny stuff along the shore of water. And the ducks are curious and I guess kind of dumb. And they come closer. And ducks aren't necessarily dumb, but in this case,
Right.
they come closer and then they get into gunshot range. Well, in the fox's case, they get into range where the foxes can grab them. In humans, they get into gunshot range, and so they can shoot them, and then they go and retrieve them. So they're actually, that's our joke why they're double the energy, is they have 2 jobs, which is to toll, which is they run along the shores of the water, luring the ducks closer, and then they go get them and bring them back.
That is amazing. So was Dara like one of the founding
dogs
of her breed, but in like the show world, or no?
No, in rally, and I did breed her one time. We had one litter of puppies, but none of those puppies were since bred. She just was an amazing girl and really taught me so much about, because I was, any trainer who's been in the business for more than probably 10 years did punishment-based training at some point in their life.
Yes.
And I did. And Dara was my first dog that I didn't do that with. And I learned a lot. And she also was my utility level obedience dog and my field training dog. And so I was learning how to be a positive reinforcement trainer and my first dog to do all of these things. So it was, she was a pretty
Did you
cool
have
dog.
your son at the time?
Yeah, I had my son when she was 4-ish, 5-ish. And she actually didn't like little boys. When she was 7 months old, she was kicked in the chest at a picnic and flipped over backwards by a young toddler type boy. And
Oh,
so she's like,
Lord.
boys under a certain height were terrifying to her, understandably.
Understandably, they're terrifying to me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, me too. And when I found out I was having a boy, I was like, oh, this is not going to go well. And she was such a, like, just her temperament was what it was. And if he would stress her out, she would just get up and walk away. She's like, I don't need to
Good.
deal with you. I'm just going to go and hang out in my crate. And then once he learned how to throw a ball, she was like, oh, all's good. You provide me food, you provide me balls. Life is good now.
Yes, yes, that is awesome. So they had a good relationship.
They did. They
Had what, like 10 years together?
Yeah.
maybe?
And she was definitely my dog though. So
Oh.
yeah.
Well, you are making her proud.
Yes.
I'm so happy and so grateful that you took the time to talk to me and educate
Thank
me
you.
today. I so enjoyed learning this. I'm going to start putting more of this into practice. And I'm going to go tell my husband about care with consent for our children too. Like, it might not be cooperative, but at least
Right.
there is consent. So thank you for
Yes.
teaching me that.
You're welcome.